I can't describe how I felt when I heard that remark. Ezra Sheng was leaning down, burying his face in Lena Feng's neck, lifting her long hair to take a light sniff. Lena Feng is his psychiatrist. Ezra Sheng has been mentioning lately that he's feeling a bit mentally disoriented and needs to see a doctor. I never expected such a perspective. Their intimate appearance was painfully glaring, and the grief of betrayal instantly consumed all my rationality. I couldn't help but want to rush in immediately and demand an explanation. Why would he do such a thing? Through 3 lifetimes of rebirth, Ezra Sheng's heart has always belonged to me. I firmly believed this. Yet the reality of the 4th life struck me like a blow to the head. I was even somewhat incredulous, wondering if I had misunderstood something. Then, the Ezra Sheng who loves me the most affectionate and devoted in my heart, spoke. He glanced sideways, playfully toying with Lena Feng's long hair as she sat on his lap, and scoffed lightly before speaking. Dr. Feng, tell me, do I really have something wrong with my brain? But I don't think the first 3 deaths were fake. Remembering that pain still makes my heart tremble with fear. Lena Feng covered her chest with an exaggerated display of concern, saying, "What should we do then? You're not going to die again this time, are you?" Ezra Sheng curled his lips into a smile. How could that be? I've accompanied Myra Xiao through every lifetime, only to end up dying by her side each time. I originally wanted to see how she would save me, but now I think it must be her bad luck. I'll stay away, and that's how I'm living just fine. In this lifetime, I have you, Dr. Lena. His tone lifted slightly at the end, making Lena Feng blush as she playfully scolded. Then you've found the right person. In this lifetime, Dr. Feng will cure you. At that moment, the laughter of the men and women inside the door felt muffled, as if separated by a barrier, reaching my ears distorted. Ezra Sheng's words kept replaying and amplifying in my ears, shaking my heart into a tight knot, a wave of suffocation washing over me. I leaned against the wall, gasping for breath in great heaves. I could no longer remember how I got home that day, only recalling the moment I collapsed onto the sofa, as if all strength had drained from my body, like a spine being pulled out. I collapsed limply. This is not an exaggeration at all. What kept me restarting time and again was the obsession to save 28-year-old Ezra Sheng. In the first life, he died when we were most in love. We had just gotten our marriage certificate, and he was driving me on a trip. I was admiring the ring in the car, saying I wanted to design a matching pair of earrings. Before his okay could even land, an out-of-control truck on the highway crashed into us with a bang. In that moment, time seemed to slow down. My pupils, dilated with terror, clearly reflected him lunging toward me, shielding me with half his body. In the end, I saw his eyes, unwilling to close, filled with blood, love, and pain. I screamed hoarsely, crying uncontrollably in disbelief. There's only one thought in my mind. No, Ezra Sheng can't die. There's still so much we haven't done. I want to start over. I want to save him. Suddenly, it's as if another voice in my head asks me, "Are you sure? Sure you don't want your future to go back and do something that might fail over and over again?" I said yes, so I gave it my all, for this lifetime, and the next. Then in this life, he told me he knew everything. He just watched as I, in my wretched and humble state, begged him to stay alive. He even said that I was the one who brought bad luck, that I was the one who caused his death. By the time Ezra Sheng returned, the night was already deep. I was still sitting blankly on the sofa, replaying in my mind where exactly things had gone wrong, when exactly his heart had changed. "Why didn't you turn on the light? What are you sitting there spacing out for?" His tone was as gentle as ever, sitting beside me and naturally reaching to wrap his arm around my waist. So normal it was, as if what I had just seen was merely a dream. I reflexively dodged. The atmosphere grew somewhat tense. A hint of coldness flickered in Ezra Sheng's eyes, clearly having noticed my unusual reaction. But as if weary, he didn't ask, "I'm going to bed first. You should rest early too." That night I slept very poorly. Even though Ezra Sheng was right beside me, my mind kept replaying the scene of his death over and over. In the first life, he died in a car accident, killed instantly, blood spreading from his body, soaking through my shirt. In our second life, we got married, but we didn't go on a honeymoon, so that car accident never happened. Then the unexpected came in the most absurd way. He came to pick me up after work, and a billboard came crashing down from above. It hit him squarely. Without missing a beat, I watched helplessly as the tall man was crushed without a trace, as if heaven had decreed his death. I refused to believe it, so we entered our third lifetime. This time, I quit my job, got married, and followed him almost everywhere, terrified that the slightest lapse in attention might lead to some unforeseen accident. And so, he safely reached his 28th year, on his birthday. The candlelight illuminated his sparkling eyes, and in the glow, he confessed to me with moistened eyes, Ran, having you is truly wonderful. My heart raced wildly, only to feel his smile growing fainter and his face becoming increasingly blurred. An overwhelming sense of unease nearly knocked me off my feet. Then Ezra Shung spat out a mouthful of blood. Perhaps too much time had passed, or perhaps my mind was too panicked to hold on to any other memories. I couldn't recall the name of his illness, something rare, I think, and just like that, his life came to an abrupt, almost absurdly careless end. The last memory lingers in a pristine white hospital room, in the deathly silence, only the faintly glowing instruments beside my ears persistently beep. As if counting down the last remnants of his vitality. I refused to accept this. How could I possibly accept it? I met Ezra Shung in our youth. Back then, I was just a country bumpkin from the countryside. Because I was somewhat pretty and had enviable dancing talent, a few girls in class began targeting me, whether intentionally or not. I endured and endured, until the day they overturned my grandmother's pancake stall. Amidst the mess on the ground, I held back tears as I helped my grandmother up. The girls, glamorous and aloof, laughed shrilly from their high perch. They called me Pancake Girl and told me to go home and flip pancakes. My grandmother was mute. She mumbled with her lips and gestured to wipe the grease stains off me. They laughed even more joyfully. That was when Ezra Shung appeared, holding a camera. He made a call and summoned the school authorities. He excelled in his studies, and his family was somewhat well off, making him quite an influential figure in our small town. It was evening, though the sky had been overcast all day. Somehow at that moment, sunlight broke through the layers of gloom and poured directly onto Ezra Shung. He extended his hand, holding a clean, neatly folded handkerchief in his palm. His first words were, "Sorry, I wanted to gather evidence first. So I didn't come to help you right away." Even now, I still remember how my heart raced that day, fierce and powerful. It carried me alone through the endless cycles of worlds where he died. By the second morning, I was still somewhat dazed. Ezra Shung got up then, changed into the clothes I had ironed, and glanced at me as I set breakfast on the table. "You're not going to the dance troupe anymore, just staying at home like this. There's nothing for you to do here anyway." His voice trailed off on the last few words. Laced with confusion, my hand paused while wiping the table, and I looked up at him. But all I saw was his gaze quickly shifting away. "Have breakfast at home, I won't eat. Don't see me off, and don't come to pick me up tonight either. I'm going to see Dr. Fong." He rubbed his temples at the right moment, his tone indifferent. If it were before, I would definitely be worried about his condition. But now, I just feel a chill in my heart. He is about to turn 28 and will soon marry me by getting our marriage certificate. In previous lives at this time, I had completely lost the mood to work, spending every day in fear and anxiety. So I simply quit my job at the dance troupe and truly became a housewife. At that time, he thought I was too exhausted and said with a smile, "Then don't go, just dance for me alone from now on. With me here, what do you have to worry about?" I accompanied him to and from work, where he proudly introduced me to his colleagues. He lifted his hand as if to show off, displaying our matching rings, and now, he looks at me with wariness and coldness, telling me, "Stop staring at me all day. Find something to do for yourself." My breath hitched, followed by the slam of the front door, plunging the room into an eerie silence. I sat at the table, mechanically picking at the breakfast in front of me. It was still warm, yet it tasted unusually cold when it touched my lips. How could this happen? Ever since Ezra Shung started treatment, it seems like the distance between us has gradually grown. He started to feel annoyed and reject my presence, after spending 3 lifetimes with me. Now he's found true love, but saving Ezra Shung feels like a program that was preordained in my fate. Suddenly asking me to give up feels like losing the center of gravity in my life. I feel like I should rush up and confront him, Ask him if all my efforts over past lifetimes were just a joke in his eyes. But then why did he keep playing along with me time and again? Yet I still act as if nothing ever happened. I watch helplessly as Ezra Sheng gradually drifts away from me, grows colder. As the words between us become fewer and fewer, watching helplessly as Lena Fong grew closer to him, even to the point where on several nights, he couldn't be bothered to pretend anymore and directly called Lena Fong from the balcony, in the darkness, even through a pane of glass. I could see the smile spreading across Ezra Sheng's lips. Then one evening, like a resentful wife, I stubbornly sat at the dining table, waiting for him to return. It was almost 9 o'clock. After reheating the meal countless times, Ezra Sheng finally came back. He came back, but with Lena Fong. Lena Fong nodded at me in greeting, then naturally changed her shoes and entered the living room. Don't misunderstand, Miss Xiao, I'm just here to assist Mr. Sheng with his treatment. According to Mr. Sheng's description, he is often troubled by past memories or ones that never existed, so I came to check the home environment, as it is actually a significant factor affecting mental health. She smiled generously and spoke professionally, completely devoid of the coquettishness she displayed beside Ezra Sheng, appearing dignified and proper. It even made me feel as if the ambiguity between her and Ezra Sheng was just my imagination. But the next moment, when her gaze met Ezra Sheng's, she flashed a meaningful smile, carrying their unique understanding. Throw these things away, and redesign the sofa layout over here. Her red lips moved, but by the end, I could no longer make out what she was saying. All I saw was how the house Ezra Sheng and I had meticulously arranged had been completely altered beyond recognition by her. Her gaze grew smug and challenging as she lifted her chin to look at me. People must always look forward, so let's just throw away the old things. She took off a pendant from her bag and hung it at the entrance, her tone coquettish. Mr. Sheng, seeing something bright and colorful before heading out will make your mood better. This is our marital home. I watched as the corner of Ezra Sheng's lips curled uncontrollably, reluctantly seeing off Lena Fong. Then I spoke with trembling lips. What's wrong? He asked back in confusion. You just bring another woman back to our carefully designed marital home, casually messing up our arrangements and leaving her traces. Myra, Dr. Fong is professional. If something isn't right, it needs to be changed. Should I just stay sick if I'm ill? His tone carried a hint of helplessness. But I detected a subtle impatience. Stop overthinking it. If you don't like the current arrangement, we can always change it later to suit your preferences. A bitter taste rose in my throat. I took a deep breath and forced a smile as I spoke. Ezra Sheng, are we supposed to get our marriage certificate next month? Are you still going through with it? Ezra Sheng frowned. What are you making a fuss about, just because Lena Fong came over for a visit? Myra Xiao. I think you have too much free time on your hands. If you have nothing to do, go find something to occupy yourself with. Stop staring at me and letting your imagination run wild. Now you're just saying whatever comes to mind. He wanted to say more, but the next moment, he froze in place. My tone was faint and cold. Not getting married, just 3 words, yet I struggled to say them. Ezra Sheng didn't react immediately, his eyes showing confusion. What did you say? His voice trembled slightly as he spoke, sounding as if he were suppressing some kind of joy. Suddenly, I recalled what he had said in front of Lena Fong. She's always clinging to me, like bad luck hovering around. How could I not get into trouble? My tears welled up in my eyes, but I held them back, refusing to let them fall. Instead, a surge of grief and indignation rushed to the top of my head, my icy blood seeming to ignite. I smiled silently. What? Are you pleased that I said I won't get married, Ezra Sheng? You wouldn't really have fallen for someone else, would you? Can't wait to get rid of me. Realizing that I might be teasing him, his expression instantly darkened, his face terrifyingly grim. Myra Xiao, it seems you're the one with mental issues. Think this is funny. No wonder I've been feeling off lately. It's because of your influence. He looked down at me with disdain, angrily threw off his coat, and went to sleep in the guest room. The living room fell silent again, but the oppressive atmosphere lingered. I tilted my head back to look at the ceiling, but the tears I'd held back for so long didn't retreat. Instead, they rushed out uncontrollably. After that day, the relationship between Ezra Sheng and me became even more strained. He started openly seeking out Lena Fong without any attempt to hide it. Faced with my heart-wrenching questions, he simply looked at me indifferently, his expression mocking. Then just give up on me. Why don't you call off the engagement? There's more to your world than just me. He was so calm. It made me seem like the crazy one. I was left speechless. I couldn't accept it. I've invested 4 lifetimes. My sunk cost is too great, so great that I lack the courage to abandon everything I've had. I kept thinking, just wait a little longer, and then I waited until the day of the marriage registration. The night before, he didn't come home, and the next day I stood at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau for a long time. After making who knows how many calls, someone finally answered on the other end. It's Lena Fong, Miss Xiao. Ezra celebrated my birthday with me last night and had a bit too much to drink. He's still not sober yet. When I rushed over, Lena Fong opened the door for me. Inside the apartment, she was dressed lightly, leaning against the wall with an indescribable radiance and charm. Following her gaze, I saw the man inside getting dressed. Today, I rarely put on makeup and had my hair tied up, but at this moment, my hair was disheveled. And I was holding our documents in my hand, looking utterly ridiculous and pathetic. In contrast, Ezra Sheng, who turned to look at me, showed nothing but slight surprise, maintaining his composure, and instead asked me, "How did you get here?" Lena Fong thoughtfully closed the door for us, but her spectator's gaze was so piercing that it threatened to shatter what little reason I had left. "What am I here for, Ezra Sheng? Are you even sober right now?" My blood boiled, and I couldn't help but throw all the documents on the ground. "If you don't want to get married, just say so. There's no need to humiliate me like this." He froze for a moment, then slowly picked them up, curling his lips into a faint smile. "I thought you already knew. I didn't expect you to still be so relentless." He straightened up, standing before me and looking down with an indifference as if I were a stranger. "Can't you tell? I want to break up with you." Reason snapped like a taut string. I widened my eyes, staring up at him in disbelief, trying to find some traces of the past in the person before me, but I failed. He lounged lazily by the bed, watching my reaction with leisurely amusement. "Ezra Sheng, what do you think death feels like?" After a long silence, I heard my own voice, hoarse and startling. I didn't experience death, but it was close, that kind of pain. It was worse than dying. I'm exhausted, so tired, and I don't even know why I'm still holding on. Ezra Sheng visibly stiffened. His pupils trembled uncontrollably. Panic flickered across his face for a moment before he lowered his gaze, awkwardly avoiding my eyes. He knew what I was talking about, after all. He also had memories of 3 lifetimes. He remained silent, and suddenly I felt a deep sorrow. It felt like a century of silence had passed. "Do you think I'm not tired?" Ezra Sheng finally spoke up. "Having died 3 times. Do you think I feel good about it?" Each time I started over, I held on to the hope that maybe this time would be different, and I walked the same path without hesitation, but falling into the same trap again and again. "Do you understand how that feels?" By the 3rd time, I was actually ready to give up. I really wanted to just die and be done with it. "Why come back again?" "Myra Xiao, I actually admire you a bit." Standing at the beginning, seeing the inevitable fatal ending, and then looking back from the end. "Don't you feel despair? No matter how hard you try, nothing changes." His voice choked up, his eyes as if veiled in a thin mist. "Accept it. This is reality. Our story can only end there. I died at 28, but what about you? Did the second half of your life die with me? Let yourself go." With his last words, Lena Fong opened the door. Sunlight streamed in, as if guiding him toward a new life. Without hesitation, he stepped forward toward Lena Fong. I struggled to take a step, watching as Lena Fong and he stood together, perfectly matched. "Miss Xiao," Ezra said, "this strawberry tart is delicious, so I specially bought an extra one for you to take home." She handed me an exquisitely packaged dessert. At first glance, my hand recoiled as if shocked by electricity. That deep-seated fear from the depths of my soul surged again, paralyzing me completely. I used to love eating strawberry tarts, and in my second life, Ezra Sheng even learned to make them by hand. I just thought his skills were poor, so I always went to the same shop to buy them. After work, he would go to the dessert shop across the street to buy them for me, and then a billboard fell from the sky, smearing strawberry jam all over the ground. That scene is something I'll never forget. From then on, I never touched strawberries again. They taste great. You should try them again. Ezra Sheng's voice was calm and light, as if all our past had been like a breeze to him. Blown away. In the fourth life, I didn't come to Ezra Sheng's 28th year. Ezra Sheng packed up all his belongings. As he dragged his suitcase out, he was as indifferent as an outsider. He even destroyed every single photo of us. Watching him expressionlessly toss away all the things that once held countless memories of us into the trash, I was overwhelmed by a suffocating sensation, as if my heart were being tightly clenched and crushed. The house is yours. Let's leave it at that. Ezra Sheng left without a trace of reluctance. That strawberry tart still sat on the table, its bright red jam resembling fresh blood. Expressionless, I stuffed it into my mouth. The familiar flavor flooded my senses, seemingly mixed with an indescribable metallic tang. Until the very end, I struggled to swallow it down. By the time I realized it, tears were already streaming down my face. Suddenly, the abrupt ringing of the phone startled me. I picked up, and on the other end was the lead dancer of the troupe, Myra. Our new production is missing a role. We've searched for a long time but couldn't find the right person. Do you think you could come and help out? I paused for a moment, responding with an then added, I can come today. Are you still rehearsing at the usual place? After receiving an affirmative reply from the other end, I rubbed my temples and headed straight for the destination. If Ezra Sheng was the most important thing in my life, then dance was the second. In my first life, encouraged by Ezra Sheng, I took the art college entrance exam and successfully joined a local dance troupe after graduation. In the subsequent lives, I continued to follow the same path as before, but my dance career always came to a halt at this point, because of Ezra Sheng's death. I must set aside everything else in my life and fully confront the insurmountable mountain of life and death. Now that I think about it, since Ezra Sheng doesn't need me, perhaps I should return to my own path as well. But in reality, the effect was very poor. I stepped back onto the dance practice floor, moving to the music, only to find that it was difficult to recapture that feeling again. After I missed the beat once again, the teacher looked at me, shook her head, and let out a soft sigh. Myra, maybe you should step aside and adjust your state first. As the song ended, the members scattered to rest. While I stood there in a daze, I used to be the teacher's proudest student, young but exceptionally talented. She once praised me, saying I was the center of attention just by standing there. But now, I feel like I'm stuck in a predicament, unable to find my way out. Teacher, how long will we be rehearsing for this performance? 2 months from now. When I got the answer, I was momentarily stunned, because by that calculation, the premiere date would fall exactly on Ezra Sheng's 28th birthday, in those past lives when I was desperately trying to save Ezra Sheng from death. The dance troupe completed their premiere perfectly without me. Actually, I didn't need to be there at all. After all, in those previous lives, they never came looking for me. The thought almost made me back out. But as the music started again, watching everyone compose themselves and throw their hearts into it, the words of surrender stuck in my throat, impossible to voice. The moment I stepped out of the dance studio, I immediately booked a plane ticket. The destination was a small town in the southwest, where dance now incorporated local ethnic elements. Having been away from the troupe for so long, I could no longer keep up with the pace. My teacher was supportive. Go and learn something new, and take a break while you're at it. It'll do you good. The wind blew my long hair as I exhaled deeply, suddenly smiling with relief. It was time to let go. I also have my own 28th year, by the time I returned from out of town. Nearly a month had already passed. During that month, I wandered through the mountains and forests, working and chatting with the local grandmothers. When happy, we would dance in the evening against the sunset. The men, women, and children of their ethnic group possess a unique talent for dance. No particular technique, yet indescribably free and romantic. There's no music, just everyone humming tunes. They tap and beat on the baskets at hand. Unintelligible dialects and sunlight envelop me. Ironings smooth my scarred and hollow heart. Upon returning to my hometown, my teacher came to pick me up. Seeing me smile so easily, she too broke into a smile. There's a performance by the dance troupe tonight. Come and watch. I smiled and said okay, ready to go home and change clothes, but unexpectedly, just as I reached my doorstep, I looked up and saw Ezra Sheng leaning against the door, and beside him, holding his arm, was Lena Feng. When she saw me, Lena Feng walked over enthusiastically, beaming with a smile. "Myra, did you go out to play?" Yet my gaze involuntarily drifted toward Ezra Sheng again, but he skillfully avoided it. My heart suddenly trembled, and I forced a smile as I turned to look at Lena Feng. "Do you need something?" "Oh, it's like this. Ezra said he left something here and needed to pick it up. Coincidentally, we just got our marriage certificate today, so we thought we'd drop by to share the good news. The wedding date isn't set yet, but you absolutely must come." Lena Feng smiled brilliantly, her ring refracting blinding light in the sun. I froze for a moment, unable to pinpoint what I was feeling. After opening the door and inviting them in, Ezra Sheng went to look for something, while Lena Feng sat right in front of me, talking about how wonderful Ezra Sheng was. Watching the happiness radiating from her face, I just felt a tightness in my chest. They sure are moving fast. Ezra Sheng must be in a real hurry to get rid of me. "What happened to the pair of bracelets we bought after the college entrance exams?" Ezra Sheng suddenly spoke up, catching me off guard with his question. Instinctively, I tucked my hands further into my sleeves, preventing him from noticing that both bracelets were actually on my wrists. After the college entrance exams, he worked a 2-month summer job, toiling from dawn till dusk, just to put one of those bracelets on my wrist when I started school. Later, when we had more money, he began adorning my wrists with even more expensive pieces of jewelry. I've put those two away. It's a somewhat well-known affordable luxury brand. It wasn't too expensive when I bought it, but now it's become a sought-after collector's item that's hard to get even with money. Lena likes it quite a bit. "You can just give me mine." The smile on my face was starting to falter. When did Ezra Sheng become such an undignified person, for the sake of his current girlfriend? He actually had the nerve to come ask his ex for things back without feeling awkward. I was just as undignified, foolishly treasuring these 2 bracelets like precious gems, hiding them on my wrist. While I was lost in thought, Ezra Sheng had already noticed. He stepped forward, unceremoniously grabbed my forearm, and exposed my fair wrist. Lena Feng gasped in surprise beside us. It was in Myra's hands all along, and she even brought 2. "Ezra, maybe Myra really likes them, but I'll pass. Let her keep them." At that moment, I felt as if I had been stripped bare. Ezra Sheng's slightly mocking gaze and Lena Feng's pitying yet triumphant smile cut through me like sharp knives. "Myra Xiao, you still can't let go, can you? Still so in love?" Ezra Sheng scoffed and spoke. Grief and anger surged in my heart as I forcefully shook off Ezra Sheng's hand. It was at this moment that I realized the person before me was no longer the Ezra Sheng who once loved me. With a relieved smile, I unfastened the clasp on the bracelet and threw both into the trash bin. "Sorry, but you're overthinking it. I just wanted to flaunt them because they're expensive. Can't I pretend to be rich? But when too many people like something, it becomes disgusting. I've never liked sharing with others. If you want it, go pick it up yourselves." That day, Ezra Sheng left with Lena Feng in his arms, furious. Before leaving, he didn't forget to humiliate me one last time. "Don't go dying without me, this time. Don't let it be you who goes first." All my lingering feelings for him vanished, and I retorted without hesitation, "There's still a month left. Say a proper goodbye to your wife, so you won't regret not leaving any last words." Watching his retreating figure, I resolutely picked up the trash bag and threw it into the large bin by the door in one swift motion. Good, now there won't be any trace of him left in the house. I glanced around, thinking I might as well rearrange the furniture in a couple of days while I'm at it. In the evening, I went to see the dance drama. My colleagues on stage saw me and smiled at me as well. When it ended, I realized I was already in tears. On my way to the backstage to present flowers, I suddenly heard someone sobbing. I looked, and it seemed to be a mother and daughter. The one crying was a little girl, her mother comforting her by her side. "It's okay, we'll come back next time. Sister will definitely return." Just as I stood there at a loss, the little girl suddenly looked up and met my gaze. The next second, an extraordinary sparkle burst in her eyes as she stared at me in disbelief. "Sister Myra Xiao." By the time I realized what was happening, she had already run up to me. "Oh, you're Myra Xiao, right? My daughter is your little fan." She was so worried about you since you weren't in the dance troupe's recent performances. She insisted on coming backstage to check on you. Ever since this child watched your performance 3 years ago, she's been determined to learn dance, saying she wants to share the stage with you someday. Her mother's words struck my heart like a pebble, sending ripples through it. The girl shyly stole a glance at me, her round face flushed with excitement. The girl's mother enthusiastically pulled us together for a photo. Before leaving, the girl gently tugged at my sleeve and asked cautiously, "Sister, is something wrong? I haven't seen you perform in a long time." "Sister will keep dancing. Right, you will always be by your sister's side." I froze for a moment. Unsure why my eyes suddenly felt moist, I bent down to pat her head and nodded very solemnly. "Yes, there will be a performance by your sister next month. Remember to come watch it then." I watched as the little girl's eyes widened, brimming with uncontrollable joy, and smiled back at her. She skipped away, and the teacher had somehow appeared by my side without me noticing. "Have you found the right state?" I nodded and softly replied, "Millimeter." Time flew by as I immersed myself in rehearsals. And before I knew it, the day of the premiere had arrived. An alarm I never set abruptly rang when I woke up in the morning. I was about to turn it off in confusion when I realized it was a schedule reminder. Only then did I snap back to reality. Today was also Ezra Sheng's 28th birthday. The alarm recorded that there were 12 hours left until the last time he was diagnosed with the illness. Suddenly, I felt a bit dazed and couldn't help but wonder, would he die in this lifetime? Is it really because of me that he keeps dying over and over again? If he hadn't died, I would have blessed him. If he died, then. Time didn't allow me to think so much, because the teacher's call had already come through. The final rehearsal must be flawless. We can't afford any mistakes. In what felt like the blink of an eye, the day flew by, and evening arrived. 7 o'clock was our performance time. The same time the accident happened in my previous life. My heart pounded wildly, though I wasn't sure what exactly had me so nervous. The teacher told the team to take a short break and calm their nerves before facing the stage in an hour. I stepped outside to get some fresh air. The sudden ring of my phone was sharp and piercing. I answered quickly, only to realize it was Ezra Sheng calling. His voice was soft on the other end. "Myra, would you be sad if I died?" 1 more hour. The first 2 deaths came suddenly, both before his birthday, only the third time, when abnormalities were detected on his actual birthday. Did it give me a little time to say goodbye? I froze. Actually, I really wanted to blurt out something like, "No way, aren't you bound to die anyway, whether you're with me or with Lena Fong," to mock his infidelity. But when the words reached my lips, I just let out a soft sigh. "Maybe, if I die, will you start over?" He asked again, perhaps separated by a screen. I couldn't discern the emotion in his voice, only that his tone was somewhat hoarse, sounding slightly distorted to my ears. This time I didn't hesitate, replying with firm conviction, "No, if he dies again this time, it can only prove that all my previous efforts were in vain. Fate is predetermined and cannot be changed no matter what. I won't have the thought of restarting again." He fell silent for a moment, then spoke again in a faint voice, "Okay, wishing you a smooth performance." The moment I hung up the phone, a surge of inexplicable emotions welled up in my heart. But the strongest one seemed to be nothing more than a sense of pity, a kind of pity that, no matter how many cycles you go through, you can never escape fate. I walked into the backstage, where the actors had already begun applying makeup and changing costumes. I also gathered my emotions, ready to face the upcoming performance. At 7 o'clock sharp, everything started anew. I stepped onto the long unseen stage, gazed at the audience filling the seats below, took a deep breath, and slowly raised my hand. The music transitioned from fast to slow before finally stopping. When the piece ended, I hadn't made a single mistake. At the moment the stage lights illuminated my entire being, I saw the faces in the audience slowly lifting up, filled with such happiness and joy, just as I had countless times as a spectator gazing at the dancers on stage. From that moment on, the seed of a dream was truly planted in my heart. Now, it has finally blossomed and borne fruit once again. I am reborn. As I stepped off the stage, the teacher behind the curtain handed me flowers, wiping away tears. "Myra, you truly live up to my expectations." To be honest, I was worried before, after such a long break from practice. Would you be able to keep up? But your boyfriend came forward and assured me repeatedly that you'd be fine. Oh, by the way, why didn't he come to give you flowers for today's premiere? My mind went blank, and I instinctively asked, wait, Ezra Shung came to see you? Yeah. I didn't want to bother you at first. You said it yourself. It was quitting the group, not some temporary leave. What would be the point of calling you back? But Xiao Sheng personally came to me, saying he wanted to plead for another chance for you, that you acted impulsively without thinking it through. I thought about it and realized it really would be a shame for you. Figured you might be too embarrassed to come to me yourself. So I took the initiative to call you. She kept chattering on. But my mind was completely blank, so this opportunity was secured for me by Ezra Sheng. But why would he do that? The memories of 4 lifetimes were too chaotic and jumbled, flooding toward me all at once, making my head feel like it was about to explode. I seemed to have forgotten something very important. But what could it be? The phone beside me suddenly jerked me back to reality, with Lena Feng's eerily calm voice on the other end. Ezra Sheng is dead. When I rushed over, Lena Feng said he wanted to see me one last time, so he held on and didn't die. I found this statement ridiculous, carrying a sense of absurdity that defied reality. Dazed, I entered his hospital room, white and pristine as if in the third heaven. He lay on the white hospital bed, his face wearing an oddly serene expression. Seeing me, he seemed to be in a good mood. This time, you didn't cry, quite composed. Anyway, you're going to die, after dying so many times. You should be used to it by now. My voice was calm, and the moment I said it, even I found it hard to believe. Like a boulder that once weighed heavily on my heart, it crumbled away without me even noticing. He didn't close his eyes, staring fixedly into mine. Are you really just going to watch me die like this? You won't come back again, millimeter. Then why are you still here? He asked me with a smile. In an instant, everything around me began to blur and fade, like a dream on the verge of waking. The illusory scene twisting into distortion. Only Ezra Sheng's face remained clear. His smile was faint, as if it might vanish at any moment. Myra Xiao, you shouldn't be here. You should go back to your life, back to your stage, back to your 28-year-old self. I'm dead. You said you've let go. The whole world fell silent. Only his voice remained, crystal clear, like a sharp sword thrust straight into my heart, piercing through the 3 lifetimes I had self-deceptively constructed. Oh, I remember now, there was no cycle at all. It was simply him, out of love, accompanying me through 2 more lifetimes, and then, also out of love, having to force me to face reality. It was me, trapped in the memory of his death, unable to move on. Extra, Lena Feng. My name is Lena Feng. I am a psychological counselor. At the beginning of the year, I met a client who was a gentle and polite noblewoman, although she didn't seem to be in great condition. It was clear she wasn't in the kind of state that required my help. Just as I had thought, she led me to meet the real client, a 28-year-old woman. This is my daughter-in-law. She and my son were in a car accident while on a road trip. My son died on the spot. The noblewoman choked up slightly. She was unconscious for 2 days, and when she woke up, her mental state became like this. I turned to look at the woman sitting on the sofa. She was very beautiful. With a slender figure and graceful posture, the noblewoman mentioned she used to be a dancer. I smiled lightly and said it was evident. She sat quietly, playing with the 2 intertwined bracelets on her wrist. Her name is Myra Xiao, or you can just call her Myra. I nodded, attempting to strike up a conversation with her, but she remained silent, only turning to look at me with unfocused eyes, as if separated from us by an entire world. She always sleeps, staying awake for very little time during the day. The noblewoman sighed, her eyes already rimmed with red. Please, help us. At first, I confidently took on this task. After a few days of interaction, I found Myra Xiao to be a very gentle person. Sometimes when I spoke, she would listen quietly. But just as I was about to proceed with the treatment, I encountered a dilemma. Although Myra Xiao shows indifference to everything in the outside world, her reactions are intense when it comes to anything related to Ezra Sheng. For example, I suggested rearranging her room with brighter colors and minimizing the presence of Ezra Sheng. Even though he is already deceased, limit her exposure to his belongings. Otherwise, it will only serve as repeated triggers. Ezra Shung's mother, despite being overwhelmed with grief, knew that life must go on, and she carried on with everything as usual. However, Myra Xiao reacted extremely strongly to everything. Glaring at me with intense anger as if I were an enemy, she even spoke for the first time, calling me the third party who had intruded into her and Ezra Shung's world. I was utterly stunned. I admit I might have been a bit too hasty, so when my gaze fell on her wrists, her reaction was even more intense. She tightly covered those two bracelets, as if afraid I would take away the last things Ezra Shung had left her. Ezra Shung's mother wiped away tears beside her, for the first time. I felt utterly at a loss. I had underestimated her feelings for Ezra Shung, so a few days later, I opted for another treatment approach. Hypnosis. I asked Ezra Shung's mother about some details of their past and learned more about Myra Xiao's history. If it weren't for that car accident, our whole family would have happily gone to watch the premiere of her new dance drama. That day was also supposed to be Ezra's birthday. He had even planned to first watch the performance together and then take us out to celebrate. He said he loved watching Myra dance the most. Life is unpredictable. Perhaps the only redemption for the living is to face the passing of the deceased. My treatment is merely a minor guidance. I want to give her some positive suggestions while her subconscious is relaxed. However, I miscalculated. My patient had fallen into a deep sleep, a state beyond my control, but she showed no signs of distress. Never mind, let her sleep for a while. I thought this way, then sat quietly by the side and waited the entire afternoon. During that time, I even considered giving up on this patient and refunding all the fees. Their bond was too deep. How can I make someone who has lost their beloved bravely accept the truth? Perhaps the deceased would have to stand before her and say, "Wake up, face reality, snap out of it." This might actually work. An absurd thought popped into my head. But I quickly suppressed it, because before me, Myra Xiao slowly opened her eyes. The first words she spoke were, "I'm back, a world without Ezra Shung." Yet there is her 28th year, the rest of her life. Perhaps the meaning of the cycle is not to resurrect the dead, but to bring peace to the living.